Oops. Gotta be good on that one. Actually, hold on. Let me see, lads. Everybody. Oh, there we go. I want to be quiet on this time. Like, this is going to be mostly just for background, but anyways. Maybe a little bit of listening to, anyways. Alright, let me make sure this is working, though. That it is live. We are live. At least I hope so. Okay. I think we're live. We're good. Oh my gosh, I am awesome at this.
Allied precision airstrike incoming. Be aware.
Alright, so one moment, lads. Right now, I'm just trying to figure out how this works, or trying to figure out how I'm gonna make this work. I think it'll be just fine. So anyways, hope you all having a good time. Happy Independence Day, boys. Happy July 4th. It is DaHitman here. And actually, what I'm doing actually is a kind of a bit of a new series. The name is in the works right now. Discussion with DaHitman. I think it works pretty nice. I mean, it does go it rolls well with the D's and the nice alliteration and all that. So. But hey, if you guys got better names for it, by all means, drop your suggestions and all that. But that's what I'm rolling with. Discussion with DaHitman. Welcome. Man, I should really have like a drawback or something, you know. Something in, what is it? Shoot, I forgot what it's called. Hold on. What was it called? Crud. I don't even know what it's called. Jeez. It's like not Ubisoft. No, not Ubisoft. It would be OBS, that's it. Like, there's something in OBS that will help me, like, give it a backdrop and, like, boom, a transition, segue. But, you know, I for some reason, OBS doesn't want to work with me, and that's why, well, I'm in this situation and all that, so. Now, as to how I'm doing this, I'm doing it with PlayStation because the camera does work better that way, and honestly, I look a lot more clear. So basically what's happening is I'm going to be doing somewhat discussions, and I'm going to be enjoying my time with you guys. You guys, by all means, pop in your comments, whatever you want to listen to. For the most part, I will be keeping them on Twitch streams and then posting them on YouTube. But for today, you know, it's July 4th. It's Independence Day. Happy Independence Day again. And, well, yeah, that's why today I'm doing a YouTube live stream just to make it easier for everyone. Because let's be honest, you can easily you can watch this without a subscription and you're fine. So frankly, that's what's happening. Now, as to why I chose Call of Duty, because let's be honest, Call of Duty has done a lot of things for veterans and everything, all patriotism. So I think they do deserve a bit of recognition for that. So thank you, Call of Duty and Treyarch and Activision, for all that you've done for the veterans and for all of America per se, American veterans. So thank you for that, and that's why I figured, yeah, I'll use you as the backdrop for today. So I wanted to discuss, yeah, the topic of today, Independence Day, July 4th, May the 4th. It's not May the 4th, that's Star Wars. But yeah, and basically recognize our history, how far we've come. We've come very far from colonial Americanism, from the time the Pilgrims came here of their own free will to find religious freedom in this undiscovered, uninhabited land. To their surprise, it wasn't uninhabited, and they almost died out had it not been for the Native Americans. Native Americans saved them in the Massachusetts Bay Colony, and, well, here we are. Well, granted, let's start back from the beginning. So the Pilgrims make it here. They sail. And the land here, they almost die out. Luckily, the first Thanksgiving happens. Native Americans help them out. Teach them how to grow corn, catch fish, do all those nice things. And then our history, unfortunately, goes dark, in which the Native Americans, unfortunately, do not become friends. They become enemies. And, yeah, we end up going through our dark moments in history. Until, finally, prior to 1776, the 7 Years' War, dealing with the French, the British come in and basically colonize the whole eastern coast of North America, into which we call the 13 colonies. And from there, well, French and Indian War / 7 Years' War begins. It wasn't really, it didn't last 7 years, but they called it that as it is. It's got a nice name to it, I suppose you could say. I think people started calling it more 7 Years' War due to the fact that if they feel it's a little insensitive to Native Americans to call it the French and Indian War, because Native Americans were fighting on both sides, actually. They weren't just fighting for the French, they were also fighting for the British, whoever wanted to help them out. If you ever watched the movie Last of the Mohicans, very good movie, by all means, do go check it out. It does portray one side of that story. And in this case, yeah, obviously the Mohawk Indians, the Mohawk Native Americans, I don't know why, it just worked out. My apologies. So yeah, the Mohawk Native Americans, they worked with the French to take on the British, but by the British I mean the Redcoats. I want to be a little more specific. And therefore they killed a couple generals in there, and, well, unfortunately their leader got killed because obviously someone wanted to take revenge on them, yada yada. That's how the whole story goes down. And, yeah, not much of the Mohican Native American tribes exists. I think maybe there are still a few survivors, a little bit of their culture still around. I'm sure the Mohawks, I honestly don't know if the Mohawk Native American tribe is still around either, but they had great history as well. And actually, I also want to include that Assassin's Creed 3, my favorite game, by the way. Honestly, even just putting an Assassin's Creed perspective into the American Revolution was good enough. Like, I love the American Revolution times. It was a great time of history. Well, a great time of history to study about specifically, not necessarily to actually take part in. I mean, maybe a little bit to take part in, but not really in the fighting. Because let's be honest, today's peoples are not exactly that willing to shed some blood just yet for our country. Like, unless we were to the breaking point, yeah, I think we'd all be willing to. But for the most part, people want to live peacefully, normal lives, if you could even call it peacefully. But that's the story for another time. And actually, one moment, let me do something.
Enemy UAV active. Scrap the contract, it's over.
Okay. Yeah, so honestly, maybe it probably would have been better. That's why I consider Twitch because at least in this case, whenever I need to edit it, I can at least edit it and take out literally this whole break that I literally just did, or you can just literally skip through. After the live stream ends, you can just move on over. It's really not that difficult to do. I think you got all everybody knows how to use YouTube or Twitch at this point. So my apologies, but at the same time, you know what you do. So, in any case, hold on, what was I thinking of? Oh yeah. So, is there something? Uh-huh. Is there anything? Why do I feel like there's... Oh, I see. Hold on, hold on. Wow, talk about first episode and already kind of screwy. Huh, that's weird. Could have sworn there would be... Something doesn't really want to work right now, does it? One moment. Huh. Well, this is weird. Huh. No matter. If things go... Yeah, I can't even... Oh, I guess YouTube actually kind of does suck. I can't even... I mean, I'm getting messages, yet I'm not. I think my comment section is broken. Huh. Oh, there we go. Took a while. I guess this dude was kind of... Oh, that's why. Huh. Damn, he actually tried it. I think he tried it intentionally to do on the one line, and YouTube just banned it, so he just does it separately. Separate letters. What a lad. What a lad. Oh, at least he figured it out, so good for him. Nice to meet you, Joe Mama. Good to see you. Alright, so what was I discussing? Oh, yeah. So where was I in our history lesson? So let's see. Native Americans, French and Indian War, 7 Years' War. Yeah. Okay, yep. There we go. So 7 Years' War. Okay, perfect. So 7 Years' War, we had Native Americans and the French fighting the British and Native Americans. I believe the Mohawk Native American tribes also did help. They did actually help in Canada for the American Revolution, so that's totally separate. So 7 Years' War, yeah. So that's how it ended. Actually, and George Washington, for those who are not familiar, participated as a young lad. He was a young commander. Actually, not even commander. A little bit of a, not even general, private. Yeah, he was a private. Yeah, exactly. He was pretty below. He was still pretty below the general. The. Jeez, I can't even. It's in my head, but I can't even produce it into words. Something's wrong with my mouth and my head today. It's like they can't connect. It's missing a little synapses. Huh. Now he's doing emojis. Is that the... Huh. Interesting. Okay. Jeez, man. I'm losing my train of thought. So, yeah. General George Washington was not commander at the time. He was not even general at the time. He was below that. So, he was... he had his fair share of battles. Definitely made a lot of mistakes. The Ohio River Valley was definitely one of them. He tried to take it with General William Braddock, but unfortunately he got Braddock killed, so that was a bust. So they gave up battling for the Ohio River Valley. But luckily through the small battles, the British Redcoats did eventually defeat the French army and got them out of the Ohio River Valley after a while, thanks to their own treaty. And, well... 7 Years' War ended. The Native Americans split off to their own areas. They actually made a treaty. The monarchy did make a treaty with the Native Americans to not interfere with their lands. Basically, where the colonists would not go past the Appalachian Mountain Trail. That line, basically, for the 13 colonies, that's the line that they made that they cannot pass over. And in fact, they disregarded that treaty. The colonists didn't care at all. They figured, Screw it. I want to go settle somewhere else besides these 13 colonies that have been already established. So they made their way past the Appalachian Trail, which definitely the monarchy did not take too kindly to. So that part of it, that was actually definitely part of the taxes that the monarchy imposed on the 13 colonies. And in fact, actually, Benjamin Franklin, who was still relevant at the time, did come up with a pact, not necessarily pact, but he did come up with basically his own form of the Constitution. Basically, arguably the primary draft of the Constitution that we have now today. And essentially, these set of rules would have been, honestly, had they been set in, and the monarchy just let that be, I think the colonies would have, America in general, would have been still under Britain rule to this day, possibly. We don't really know. But I think it's a good thing we don't find out, because monarchies, no, we don't need that. We're taking control of all of America, all of North America. This is our land. We got here, so you have to pay taxes for it. And colonists, screw you. We're fighting back. So this is where we are, the start of the American Revolution, or at least partially as to what caused it. So it wasn't necessarily the taxes itself. I mean, the taxes were pretty high, definitely. So yeah, totally arguably that the colonists would be mad about that. But it was mostly because they did not get any representation as to how these taxes were being imposed. That the idea that they were being imposed without them even knowing about it, and them even like giving a say about whether or not they should impose them or not, like as if they were basically barred from Parliament at all, that the colonists were. So that's what they were most mad about, that they had no representation. And so eventually the colonists, under leadership of Sam Adams, by the way, I'm wearing his shirt. You gotta love it. Look at this patch. Samuel Adams. I know it's the beer, but still looks freaking beautiful. I argue that this is a patriotic shirt. I don't really drink the beer, but maybe I should start afterward. But then again, I'm not old enough yet, so I'm gonna wait on that. I got plenty of years before I can legally start drinking beer, so. Frankly, I'll drink Sam Adams when I'm ready. But for now, he's part of me. Shit, he's on my heart. He's on the left side. He's on my heart. That's perfect. I love it. So he's in my heart. And so under the leadership of Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, First Continental Congress, what to do with these taxes. I believe the Stamp Act was the first tax. Yeah, tax on stamps. And then there was a Tea Act. There was imposed. Yeah, there were a lot of taxes. I can't even remember them all of a sudden. But yeah, they were definitely annoying. And I think also there was and this actually led up to basically the creation of the Fourth Amendment about private property and all that. Can't let the British Redcoats were actually. They forced colonists to let them in, to be taken in, and allow them to be. The Third Amendment. I meant the Third Amendment. There it is. I knew I was right about something. And so basically this will lead up to the Third Amendment being created, and that Redcoats were actually forcing themselves into people's homes that they would be taken care of, basically as guests. And, the colonists had no say as to whether they should take them in or not. They just forcibly allowed themselves in. Basically, that's how that was. And I would argue it was, not cool. Definitely not cool. That actually led up to the Boston Massacre, unfortunately. And nobody knows who fired the first shot. It wasn't the Redcoats. It wasn't the colonists. Who knows who fired that shot? Assassin's Creed 3 actually showed that Templars did that. Because, blame the Templars on all the mischievous things that happen in history that we don't know about. Which actually makes me wonder who shot the first shot of Lexington and Concord. Huh. Yeah. I mean, they didn't show either a Templar or assassin that did that, so go figure. So I think they let history stay with that. So, I mean, you could assume with the Boston Massacre who could have shot the first shot, but Lexington and Concord, hard to assume. Maybe Benjamin Franklin, who knows? Maybe he had a pistol and figured, shoot up in the air, start the war, But I doubt it. It's all speculation at this point about that. But no matter. So where were we? Right, so Stamp Act, Boston Massacre. Oh, yeah. this all led up to the Boston Massacre. Redcoats were guarding the courthouse, and unfortunately, well, someone fired a shot, and the Redcoats fired on the people, killing many. One of them being Crispus Attucks, native African American, who, well, helped start the American Revolution essentially with his death. His death did not go in vain, basically. So, and I figure I include him because he is in history books as well. So why not? And so, John Adams, actually under the not permission, but under instructions by Samuel Adams, no less his cousin, to defend these redcoats. And he did. He defended them, and they all went scot-free, which angered colonists. And that was the purpose. Basically, this was gaslighting slash kind of propaganda-ish that Sam Adams did. And actually, Paul Revere, who does become relevant later on, did paint the Boston Massacre. He did create that original painting of the massacre that occurred on that day. It was, well, pretty gruesome. It didn't depict the whole scene, but it was obviously for propaganda uses. So, yeah, we kind of have a bit of a immoral use of propaganda in terms of creating our country, sure. But at the same time, that wasn't the whole point. I mean, that was only just to give the colonists something to be angry about, and eventually it drove them to wanting to be free from monarch control. Because screw the monarchs, no one wants to be under king's rule, frankly, because there was supposed to be freedom in the first place, and unfortunately, they didn't take too kindly to that. The colonies were still under British rule, and yeah, obviously went from there. Now, as to where are we at? So after Boston Massacre, they defended that, right? And then let's skip ahead because there's not much. I believe the Second Continental Congress, they had their meeting, about these taxes, no representation, and not yet. No, okay. And then you had your Boston Tea Party, dumping all of that tea into Boston Harbor from the ships to screw with the British East India Company because, they like their tea. It was their way of trading. And so, that reminds me of a Jack Sparrow kind of moment, so I like that. Excuse me. And so, dump all that tea. Had a great night. The monarchy obviously didn't take too kindly to that, obviously. So they've been imposing a lot more taxes on them. And then, jumping ahead to the Declaration of Independence, July 4th, 1776. And the first to sign said document was John Hancock. Which, they now call these days a signature. Give me your John Hancock. That's basically asking for your signature. Because he was the first one to sign, so hey, it's a good reference right there. So, yeah. And what happened afterward... Hold on one sec. No. There we go. So then, after that, after July 4th, eventually, Paul Revere... Actually, Paul Revere was warned by many colonists. I believe Sam Adams even warned him to get ready because the Redcoats were coming. They were seizing all property within Lexington and Concord and everything all around. Basically anything that they were walking towards, they would seize property from people's homes. And so, yeah, they came. They came, but they didn't conquer, basically. Try to play a little on Julius Caesar's words. Kind of actually works well, doesn't it? Go figure that the Romans actually gave us a good way to build our country off of, because we did eventually become a republic. I guess you could say we're a democratic republic or constitutional republic. Honestly, either or works because we do have a bit of a democracy in terms of our voting system, but at the same time, it's mostly republic due to the whole system of government. So there you go. And we do rely on the Constitution. So, like I said, it can be either or in a sense, democratic republic, or constitutional republic, and we are a republic no matter what. I don't understand why people call this place a democracy. America is not a democracy; it is a republic. So we really got to get that right. Just say it. Just saying. Just saying the truth, you know. And so our time spent, well spent. Yeah, see, this is why I want to do the editing, because I'm trying to think of my head. I'm trying to make a good fluid video for you guys to watch, not just a live stream. But I figured, hey, it's July 4th, good first episode. I'm trying to learn how things work, how I want to do this. So cut me some slack, will you? Thanks. But so after Lexington Concord, do not fire unless fired upon, or do not fire unless you see the whites of their eyes. Yeah, could have gone either or. Yeah, because both phrases were used. Unless the second phrase was actually used for the Battle of Bunker Hill up in Boston. Yeah, which was the first battle. Okay, technically second battle, if you will, because Lexington and Concord were the first battles, but Bunker Hill, yeah, was the official first battle of the Revolution. But either or really works, so whatever you prefer in that terms. So there we are, Lexington and Concord. First couple of shots fired, people dying. You know, the Patriots and the Redcoats fighting each other. Even actually, the Patriots even hide out in the woods like the Native Americans did, try to get them that way, because they're never going to win against them formally. The British Empire was very strong on military power, and they were very good in terms of military strength, and that's why they could never beat formally. They could never be beat head on. I mean, that's why the French struggled. That was literally their tactic, guerrilla warfare against the British. That's the only reason they were able to keep up against the British. But the British, you know, technically they had good tactics and were able to defend their forts very well. Like Fort William McHenry, they defended that very well. So very much like that, which actually appeared also in The Last of the Mohicans, in case you guys are wondering. And so, what else was I thinking of? It's
Team is tracking your position.
I'm trying to think. So where were we? Oh yeah, like I said before, Battle of Bunker Hill, first ever battle, first major battle. And actually, before that, Ethan Allen and the Green Mountain Boys stole some cannons to avoid being totally obliterated on Bunker Hill. So thanks to them, we were able to take some of the Redcoats' cannons and keep them for ourselves, and even made them surrender, I think, a fort. But unfortunately, we did get pushed back up the hill of Bunker Hill. So yeah, it was a good idea at the time, but it kind of screwed up a little bit. Now, the Patriots did lose the Battle of Bunker Hill, but they did reduce the Redcoats' numbers pretty big. There were many casualties on the Redcoats side, so it wasn't all for nothing. And it was only first battle, so it was kind of expected to not go so well for the first couple times, because they were trying to figure out how to fight. And that's pretty much how it was. They trying to basically like scope out, recon the Redcoats' army, how to fight it, and well, arguably it almost worked out. It was unsuccessful, but also successful at the same time, if you will. So after Battle of Bunker Hill, yeah, there was plenty of more battles in between. Battle of Monmouth. Actually, before Battle of Monmouth, we had Valley Forge. Now that was brutal, very brutal. You know, those brutal winters. Luckily, Thomas Paine was still around to help keep up some morality, give him some motivation. So he wrote he was the original author of Common Sense, which definitely helped a lot in terms of the propaganda used to help the Patriots overcome and rise up. So good on him for that, and yeah, boosting up the morality and motivation for the Patriots during Valley Forge was he wrote the Sunshine Patriot poem, which was very good. You know, the Sunshine Soldier and the Summer Breeze. Yeah, I really gotta read up on that again. It was a good poem, very good. very good motivation for the soldiers, and frankly, they really needed it because they were dying out. There were plenty of people, plenty of soldiers who were willing to give up, but frankly, we wouldn't let them. Not even George Washington would let them give up because to give up, what did they started fighting for? What was the point of all of it? Why all of a sudden would they stop now? Just because, they were low on supplies and all of those things. And they kind of had to steal a lot of stuff to maintain themselves. But for the most part, they did survive Valley Forge. Actually, apparently even in Assassin's Creed 3, Connor Kenway helped a lot in terms of Valley Forge, trying to make sure that it worked out well for them. And he did. He did his best, so... I know I'm putting in fiction in history, but at the same time, who knows? Maybe someone definitely helped get them back on their feet. There was plenty of people that helped them back on their feet, like the French dude, Lafayette, Marquis de Lafayette, who came from France, right way before the French Revolution. And I think the French Revolution was kind of a bit stirring, like you could tell it was starting to sort of happen a little bit, but it was way ahead of its time, basically, or way before its time. And so he helped out. Baron von Steuben came in from Prussia, taught the men how to shoot, be better soldiers, fight better against the British Redcoats. And we even had some Polish guys come in from Poland. It was they came in because they needed help fighting their own revolution in Poland, like the Prussian people outside of Poland, like Prussia and Russia. They were screwing around with Poland. They wanted the land, obviously, because it was in the way. And, obviously the Polish didn't want to give it up. So, Polish commander Kosciuszko and General Pulaski came in. That's where we have our Kosciuszko Bridge and our Pulaski Bridge today in New York. So, thank you guys for honoring that. The Polish definitely have been great. Despite their history, being off the map twice, but they somehow come back in the end. And frankly, you got to give the Polish credit. They don't die out very easily. We're very stubborn, and I can very much tell you we're very stubborn. I'm very stubborn, but I was born here, but I still have some Polish roots, so I got no complaints about that. So yeah, anyways, man, I'm getting really off topic, but at the same time, it's still on topic. Like it's relevant. Okay. I'm distracted. And I lost it. But yeah, that's how it was. And even the Dutch slipped in. The Dutch from the Netherlands actually slipped in a little bit of cash to help us out, give us some money. The Spanish also a bit helped out. The French definitely helped us, give us some troops. Obviously, Marquis de Lafayette. And eventually, well, Valley Forge gave us the fighting chance at the Battle of Monmouth. In the springtime. Like, they were ready for them. And then eventually we all had our each and every battle. Battle of Saratoga, turning point in the war. Man, we really hounded down the British Redcoats after that. That was a crazy battle. Actually, I remember now, Benedict Arnold was part of the Battle of Saratoga. And it's so unfortunate. The dude wanted so much recognition, and he never got it. That's because due to one commander above him didn't want him fighting in it, and he still ended up fighting in it, and almost sacrificed his leg twice. That was the second time his leg got shot, actually, in Saratoga. I forgot where the first time was, but it was way before Saratoga. And it was after Saratoga where he just figured, screw the Patriots. They don't want me at all, so he defected to the British Redcoats. Kind of helped them, kind of didn't. He actually killed some British Redcoats along the way to climb up the ladder of not necessarily monarchy, but the ladder of leadership. So he didn't become general, but he was very close to it. And who knows? I feel like we could have easily killed him, but at the same time, this dude was like a snake. He could just slither out of any dangerous situation he could. And that's why every term, the term we have for, or reference for a traitor is Benedict Arnold. That's what we call him. Basically a traitor. He basically gave us a reference to this day, so he's famous for that. Good for him, you know. So honestly, in all retrospect, yeah, there's been betrayals and contracts, pacts made that's made things worse for both the Patriots and the British Redcoats. But, you know, that's what war is. Basically, you're desperate and you want to get to the top, and yeah, that's how people be like sometimes. And Benedict Arnold was one of those few people. And at the time, we also had spies like Nathan Hale, and I believe even a couple of women as well were spies as well. They definitely had it a little bit harder because they had to avoid detection. But at the same time, it was easy for them to avoid detection because, I'm sorry, ladies, but women at the time, you know, didn't have as much rights and probably would not have been easily figured to be that smart or intelligent. Like, they just work and protect the kids and all that. So they just figured, they won't do much. But oh boy, they were wrong. Like, women, I gotta give you credit. You guys did great during the American Revolution. I mean, Molly Pitcher, during the Battle of Monmouth, she helped out a ton. And also the nurses down in, say, Valley Forge, or even during the Battle of Trenton, even. Oh, how could I forget the Battle of Trenton? That was way before Christmas Day. The Battle of Trenton, when George Washington crossed the Delaware River and fought the Hessians. The best part was that the Hessians didn't see it coming. And they almost did see it coming had it not been for the drunkenness. Like, the commanders were drunk because they actually did receive an alert from a spy that Washington's men were coming in, but they were too drunk to even care about it or read it. So basically, their own greediness got them killed. Their own egos. Yeah, basically that's what happens. And thank God for that. Thank God that they were drunk in their own power. I mean, evil does that in general, but I think God kind of helped a little bit in that case. So yeah, it worked out in the end. So Battle of Trenton, we won that. Washington did great things for that. And it was Christmas morning. Bruh, it was really cold, very icy. I mean, you've seen those pictures of the crossing of the Delaware? Yeah, it's crazy. So after all that, Valley Forge, Battle of Monmouth, Saratoga, and yeah, and then eventually all the battles in between. There was a place where the British Redcoats did burn something down. They burned a lot of places down, but there was plenty of things they burned down. Oh, John Paul Jones. Oh, brother, this dude was great. I don't even remember if John Paul Jones was actually in Assassin's Creed 3. Like, cause I barely remember if they had ships, but I don't think. That's right, Connor. You actually do get to experience a Navy battle with John Paul Jones. It was only one time, but you actually do get to meet him and fight with him. That was fantastic. I really enjoy that. I'm really glad they got to participate in that, participate in history at all with the fictional storyline within that history. And basically, in general, let's put it this way: nobody could beat the British Navy. They were hard to beat. As hard as their formal battle experience was, their Navy was even on a higher level. But pretty much, the Navy was pretty much one of the greatest in all of the world at the time, obviously. Now, granted, this was also when the British Empire was almost at its peak, almost to its golden age, but yeah. So definitely, the Patriots struggled overseas, but John Paul Jones kept it together. He had his own ship and fought through and claimed many naval victories. So thank God for him as well. And that eventually actually helped to corner the British Redcoats at the Battle of Yorktown, because it paved the way for French ships to come in and basically blockade any British naval ships from coming in and from any coming out. So there was no escape for them. We literally just put them all in a circle and surrounded the whole place. And eventually, Battle of Yorktown, the British generals surrendered, officially ending the war in 1782. I mean, dang, it lasted for more than 6 years at least, or maybe 1789. I said 86 or 84. No, 1789 officially the end of the war. A little more than 10 years. Yeah. The American patriots fought blood, sweat, and tears all through at least 10 years of hardships and made it at the end with their freedoms. Our freedoms today. And we cannot thank them enough for that. We are forever grateful for all that they done. They served this country proudly, as do the current military branches do as well, with pride and honor, and we're forever grateful for what they've done for this country. And this country has gone through its worst times. Honestly, I would argue that it must have been really awkward during the Civil War to have Independence Day celebrations. Like, I don't know, did they take breaks on Independence Day during the Civil War, between the Union and the Confederacy, if those two kind of, they stopped and just, hey, this is a peacetime, let's celebrate Independence Day. Did they do something? I don't know. History books didn't really tell much of that, and really much historical documentation about that, I guess, because it's a little irrelevant. At the same time, arguably, it is still relevant. I mean, Independence Day, what they all fought for, they all fought for freedom, to be an independent nation from everyone, So it's hard to say that's irrelevant and insignificant, but I can see where it's coming from. They were in the middle of a war, they were in the middle of their own fighting, the schism, if you will, because schism is like a separation. They did separate for the time being. So yeah, secession. Yeah, yeah. I'm glad I'm actually able to come up with all these words anyway. So yeah, I've been talking for a while. This is going to be a long episode, that's for certain. This is why editing would be so helpful in this, so I can just make it so fluid and all that. But hey, it's the first episode. I'm pretty sure I can learn from my mistakes for later on. And so, yeah. The end of the American Revolution. The American Patriots won. And the United States was formed. For about a couple of years. Thanks to the Articles of Confederation. Yeah, they didn't really do much, unfortunately, and it almost basically screwed our country. It really did. We almost lost the country the moment we got it, if you will. But in the end, it all worked out. The Constitution was drafted thanks to our founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, George Washington, Alexander Hamilton, and I don't think I missed anyone. Did I miss anyone? I did not miss him. Oh, John Adams too. And I'll include Samuel Adams. I mean, Samuel Adams was more of the revolutionary type, so yeah, arguably he could be a founding father, but at the same time he was more of the revolution than the founding of the official United States. So that's why I basically put in the other founding fathers and all that. Basically anyone who was in Washington's cabinet at the time, basically. Well, except Henry Knox, who was Secretary for War, I believe. Yeah, at the time. And they also put John Jay. I mean, he was the first ever judge and head judge. Yeah. I forgot. What did they call the head judge? The main judge? Who's basically obviously the one who holds basically Chief Justice. That's it. Chief Justice John Jay. There you go. Ooh. Sorry, I had a bit of a cramp. So Chief Justice John Jay, first ever the Supreme Court. Supreme Court was formed. We had our three branches: the executive branch, the judicial branch, and the legislative branch. We made Congress, the Senate, the House of Representatives, and the Supreme Court. All the courts about deciding all the cases and needs of justice, and the executive branch, your presidential cabinet, your vice president, and your president. There you go. The birth of a new country, the United States of America. Oh, and actually I want to give out a shout out to Betsy Ross, who created the flag, because she was the one to first ever craft the flag. So you got to give credit to her. I mean, she was a patriot during the time. well, obviously a patriot during the American Revolution and was still a patriot to this day. She created the flag to which they held for not only during the battles but also through the formation of the country. So good on her for doing that, and yeah, she should be honored. I don't understand why cancel culture wanted to get rid of her. That felt weird. I don't understand that sometimes. Like, she did a great thing and people wanted to cancel her? I don't get it. I really don't. Like, they even made, like, Nike made a Betsy Ross shoes and then they got rid of it. Like, for no reason at all. Or they didn't really specify their reasoning behind it, which was most unfortunate, but, you know, Nike's kind of part of China, so I guess I can see why. But, you know, I miss Rush Limbaugh. He actually wore the shoes, and he even had a Betsy Ross flag. Yeah, Betsy Ross flag, and even a Betsy Ross poster. No, not poster, shirt. He had the shirt. Yeah, so that was great for him to have that. Yeah, so I understand. I do definitely want to give a shout out to her. She was a great patriot. And a woman, by the way. Go frickin' figure, you know? So, I don't understand the frickin' cancel culture these days. It's horrifying sometimes at their idiocy and everything. They're canceling all our history. I mean, maybe only the bad parts, but at the same time, they're kind of canceling the good parts, you know? Like, they try to cancel Washington despite the fact that he was literally one of our founding fathers, even though they clearly only showed his mistakes. I mean, everybody makes mistakes. I know. He burned down a Native American village, and he owned slaves as well. Yeah, I get it. He made those mistakes. Granted, one of them was when he was a British command. Well, not even British commander, but basically under the British Redcoats at the time. So, yeah. But and the other, you know, he was in current life. At the same time, he wasn't a terrible slave owner. Like, he was kind to his slaves, just like Thomas Jefferson. So, I get it. Owning slaves in general is bad, but he wasn't terrible. I think that's the thing. Like, they just assume that just because you're a slave owner, it means you're a terrible person. Like, no, he wasn't bad to his slaves. He even freed them after his death. So, yeah, and George Washington. Thomas Jefferson did as well. I mean, George Washington even married one of his slaves, and pretty much basically gave them citizenship, made them free in that respect. So, I don't understand the conflict of interest here. Oops, I died. But, you know, that's just how it is. Society kind of sucks and they clearly don't understand our true history in a sense, but, well, I suppose that's how it is. I mean, our history was not created off of just good actions. War in general is not even a good action, okay? We had to go through war just to get our freedom, so I don't understand people sometimes, you know. We had a rough history, okay? We started off somewhat good, and then we had it rough. And here we are back again, and we're still alive. And we've grown definitely a lot more open to the world, if you will. You know, with both world wars we participated in and all that, so we've definitely grown more accustomed to the world as it is, so, and we've earned our place in it. We're one of the main world powers within the whole world, so I'd say we earned it. And despite our flaws, we did well. We did well for the most part. We're still alive. This country is still alive compared to, well, most other countries that are dying out there, so yeah, arguably we've done well in retrospect. And that's why I love this country. I was born here, and I'm willing to die for it. You know, should the time come. Granted, I'm not ready to go to war, but doesn't mean war's not going to happen, right? Because people say they want peace, but that's kind of BS at this point. Like, they don't really want war. They want all this drama, commotion, and all that. Granted, there are some people out there that do want peace. They don't want any of this stuff. And I feel them. I absolutely feel them. That's what I would like as well, but I don't know, society kind of sucks with it, don't you think? So, hopefully things go well in the future, but there are no guarantees right now. That's the thing about the future. There are no guarantees. Your past does not determine your future. But it can kind of screw it up. So do be careful in general anyway. So, yeah. Anyways, I'm in a dogfight right now, so sorry about that. So, in any case, how should I end this off? I think this is a good place to end. Yeah, because I figured, you know, the start of the country would be a good way to honor Independence Day. Literally, our independence. Literally giving the story of our independence. So, we've gone through many battles in the American Revolution. Many blood, sweat, and tears were used, and were not wasted. And everyone has earned their place in history, rightfully, and kind of wrongfully in today's society. But, regardless, they have made their mark in history and will forever be honored for what they've done for this country, for the people, and just for, this is the home of the brave, the land of the free and home of the brave. And they've done so much to keep it that way. And hopefully with today's generation, we can still keep it that way, as always. And frankly, the first people that came here kept God in mind. And they said, you know, God bless America. God bless the United States. God save the king. Yeah. And actually, arguably, saying for king and country, basically saying for God and the United States. That's kind of what that phrase can actually be used within the context as well. Like, I know the British did say, Great Britain does say for king and country. Well, now it's queen and country because there's a queen, no king. That's pretty much, that's what exactly it was for. But in this case, you can also say king and country because, you know, God is king of the universe and country being the United States. So for king and country, I can officially say that. And, you know, God bless America. He has always blessed this place. He has given the pilgrims the land in order to survive and be free. And all we can do is just be grateful and thankful for it. And thank him for giving us such a gift. You know, the land, to give us the gift of life in this sense. You know, he gave us a life to live. And we've had our shared history of both good and bad moments. Forever we will remember. Forever we will honor. And, you know, hopefully just stop canceling it. Make it a part of us, not gaslighting it. We can actually learn from it, not make it worse than it is. But otherwise, you know, society has its own problems, so it doesn't really matter. Every generation has its own problems, and it's really up to us to solve them, not make more problems out of it, but to solve them. And I think that's the problem. Nobody really wants to solve anything anymore. They just want to make problems, make drama, screw the peace and all that, you know. Just have a lot more fun in the world, and I get that. I want to have my fun in the world too, but this is just asinine at this point, so frankly, let's just be grateful and accept our responsibilities, accept what we've done. You know, like, no excuses. There really shouldn't be too many excuses. Like, that's the thing. Life is not all black and white. There are some gray areas, but the more gray areas that we make in life, the more excuses we make, and therefore morality just slips. So, therefore, you know, this country was made with God in mind, and therefore with God, it can forever guide us as to what we should do with the country. Make it the way we want it, because we have the freedom to do as we have. We have free will, and we will do as can be done. Granted, some limitations. We are going to need some limitations because some people can't keep to themselves, and some people with so much freedom, they don't know what to do with it. So they, in a way, screw around with it, hurt others in the process, and that's not what we want. We don't want that at all. So I'm hoping that this Independence Day you've all learned something about our history and the truths and all that happened at the time. Our first Independence Day, and here we are. 246 years later, still celebrating strong. So honestly, I think that this is a good place to end this first episode, you know. It's a good way to start it off, end it off with, you know, America the Beautiful. It is a beautiful country. My country, 'tis of thee, land of the free, home of the brave. And honestly, I would want to play the national anthem, but I'm afraid I'll get copyrighted because, you know, YouTube is so eager on getting people with copyrights. Like, why? See, this is why Twitch is so much better, but I don't know. I did, like I said, this was my first time, so I'm learning the ropes, trying to make it as good as I can, try to make it as clear as possible, as fluid as possible, so don't worry. It'll get better as time goes on. And honestly, the reason I wanted to even start this in the process because apparently my Last of Us video about what went wrong with it reached over 100 views. And I'm thinking, like, wow, people were actually interested in that. They were actually interested in me more talking than necessarily playing, like giving a little information about it. And, like, okay, that's fine. Honestly, I must have done something right there. So I figured, hey, I'll try again. And granted, I wouldn't be surprised if this live stream doesn't get too many views, because for obvious reasons, it's pretty long, and it's just the first start. So clearly, it's not gonna it's not gonna blow up just yet, if you will. Definitely down the road, it'll go with that. It'll go along with it. So yeah. So I really hope you guys enjoy the video. I hope you guys enjoy the live stream, and you know. Celebrate 4th of July. Happy Independence Day 2022. And God bless America. Have a great and blessed day, folks. Peace.